Good morning and welcome to the Rewind Show. Hashtag 56, I think. Might be 57. I don't know. But what's one between friends? Good morning. I'm Steve Brown. And over there at the sports bar, in his Ivies, bringing in helicopters and aeroplanes this morning, it's Brent Peters. How are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm all right. I've been under a bit of pressure this morning. Been on the road since half past. I've been on the road since 6:30. White van man syndrome.
On the road again.
That's
it. What have you been up to?
Well, I've had to listen. It's holidays drive me mad. When people take holidays, you've got staff out on holiday. You know, normally my business, distribution business, runs like clockwork because I've got 3 good staff and they know what they're doing. They know the jobs. They know the runs. When obviously somebody goes on holiday, I've got to put a relief driver on.
Yeah.
And as much as you can, you train them up. They just haven't got into it like the other lads. So when there's issues, which there were yesterday, and he was struggling to get through his deliveries, and he failed on his collections, I've got the big bosses from down at Ramsbottom there on my case saying there's been failed collections. So this morning, without any messing, I had to be up out of bed. This is what you've got to do, isn't it? So I was up out of bed at 6:30, and I was round Rochdale at 7 o'clock, picking up all the collections that were failed yesterday. And then I've shot to Ramsbottom, tipped the van, scanned everything off, flew back up the bypass, flew back up Baycup Road, and flew back into this building to sit here and chat to you.
Chat to me on the Rewind, which is great. Lots to talk about today, Brent. Of course, a good result last weekend against Atherton LR. We got the Pilkington game to chat about. Top of the league, they're flying high at the moment. But first of all, I want to talk about the fantastic feedback that we've had since our friends at BBC Radio Lancashire and Adam Cottier, Andy Bays, of course, Dan Jewell, all the team there have put that interview together. It's been fantastic, the feedback that we've had.
I'm quite humbled and overwhelmed with it, really, to be fair. Like I said on the interview to Adam, I didn't really think about the 25 years. No. When I tried to say is every day you come into Baycup Borough every day, and every day is the same. You take the same road. You come out your house, you take the same road, you come into the club, you do the same things. Well, you don't do the same things because it's all varied, but you get me. I'm coming in here every day. It's not like I've done this morning whereby I've had to jump in a van and go and sweep up behind people. That's kind of varied. But what I'm saying is every day you virtually come into Baycup Borough and you don't give it, unless somebody actually tells you, you don't realise that you've been here 25 years and you're in that week that it were 25 years ago that you walked into this club.
And the thing is, though, with you, Brent, when you say every day, we mean every day, because you are there 7 days a week. I've worked for you for about 3 years, and I know that when I ring you, 99.9% of the time, you're in that building where you're sat now.
Well, yeah. There's so many things to do, and there's never really enough hours in a day to do it. It's like when I left here last night, I went down home and then had all the players' expenses to start to do. So I run my own at home, and I just sat down and got my head on it. And by the time I'd finished doing that, because that's not easy, you've got all your squad to do and sort out, and you're dropping the money and you're dealing with money, so you've got to be concentrated. So by the time I put my laptop down, and then there are issues coming through from, like I said, from FedEx on issues that failed yesterday. So I have a duty to do to them as well, you know. And so by the time I switched my laptop off and shut it up, it was 11:15. And I'm serious. I hadn't stopped from walking in here yesterday morning. So
and then as you say, you're up at early doors to get down to depot to sort out the parcels this morning.
Yeah. But would I have it any different? No, I wouldn't. No. I don't really want to be. No disrespect to FedEx and that side of the business. I don't really want to be, because normally, you know, like I said, it does run like clockwork, and you know, the lads. I only really get involved if there's issues, and obviously when there are issues and it starts to affect me, then you know, it don't ringle right good with me, you know, because it affects. Like this morning, you know, I knew I had this show, and at the end of the day, you know, I've just pulled all stops out to get here. Like time deliveries, I was basically sat here on time. I might not have actually gone live on show on time, but you
were there at 10 o'clock.
I was there at 10 o'clock, so that's a perfect time delivery.
It is. You spoke about quite a few things. I think people need to go to BBC Sounds. There are some clips on our Facebook page and our social media, but you spoke about quite a lot of things with Adam Cottier over that 35 minutes, probably a lot longer that Adam was with you. Was there anything which wasn't covered in the interview that you spoke about, you know, trips down memory lane and things that you reflected on?
Well, there were a couple of tales that were, you know, on the part. They obviously, there's only so many minutes they can give you, and I'm grateful to BBC Radio Lancashire for the coverage that they've given me. It's not about me. Listen, at the end of the day, you know, anybody that has a milestone of working at the same place for, you know, 25 plus years, you know, it's remarkable, you know, and I applaud anybody that's done that, because, as you know, it's a rocky road, his life. You know, there's ups and there's downs and there's black days and there's blinking, you know, the sun, you know, there's great days, and you've got to ride through them and get and cut your way through them. And you know, so it's not really about me, although it is about me. But what I'm trying to say is that, and that's why I'm humbled, and I'm humbled that so many people have come on and, you know, congratulated me and liked things and everything. But it's about the club, you know. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. You know, I've come into football and I've seen so many clubs go by the wayside. You know, I touched on it on the show. You know, it's frightening, but it doesn't surprise me. You know, like I said, once the FA made the you know, the pathway through that you can get promoted and you can go through the English pyramid system, and you can eventually end up as a football league club. You know, that was the day that, whilst it's good on one hand and brilliant that you can, so in reality we are what? Let's work this out. So in reality we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably 6 promotions off a football league place. You know, that's how close it is, but equally it's how far it is as well. So when they brought that in, the Football Association, and they brought a pathway in, it was, if you didn't run with the times or try to run with the times, and you didn't show any ambition, then you were going to go by the wayside. And it's one thing that I actually had a conversation with the late Frank Manning. You know, I kind of said to him, I said, look, you've got to, this was before I actually started to put money into the club and do what I've done. This was before that. And I said to him, you've got to make decisions here now, Frank. The decision is, are you going to, and I know, listen, when we talk about paying players, let's have it right. You know, every club out there, a majority of clubs, if they tell you that they're not paying, they are. It's classed as expenses. But we all know you know, it is classed as expenses, and some people or some clubs extend that expenses. I mean, you know, that's none of my business. But I'm just telling you that most clubs that's the situation. And when I'm here and I said to Frank Manning, and I said to him, listen, you've got to make a decision. The days of like not paying expenses will be the time where if you're not going to pay expenses, then you've got to decide then whether you want to go and be an amateur club. Because now in the National League system, majority of the clubs will pay expenses. And if you don't pay expenses, you're not going to keep your players, because if a player can get £20 expenses from a club down the road, and you're not paying £20 expenses or £10 expenses or £5 expenses, then they're not going to play for you. So you're going to be in a situation where you're more amateur status than kind of semi-professional. Yeah. So it'll end up where you're not going to attract players. You're never going to attract the players. So you've got a decision to make.
So you're kind of forced. You've got to go with the flow.
You've got to go with the flow. You've got to go with the times. And it was the same when I had my removal and storage business. You know, times changed. I went through. I think the reason why I come to sell my furniture removal business, and sometimes I regret it. Sometimes I look back and I think, you know what, I shouldn't have done that, because you know what, I'd gone through a recession, a bad recession, and I got out at the other end of it. A lot of people didn't come out the other end of these recessions. They lost their businesses, and their businesses went.
Yeah. So it kind of proved at the time that nothing was going to break you, because you'd already gone through the worst time ever.
Yeah, exactly. But because the recession absolutely, like, kind of every day was an hard day. Every day was a chore, because I'm trying to keep an old established. I mean, listen, the removal company I had, you know, it celebrated a century of service. Well, I had it. Previous to me having it, was a family business that had, you know, called Dewhurst Removals. It was the Dewhurst family, and before that it was Barrett and Derbyshire's, and it goes back a lot. It went back a long way. Now it's funny, because I've fought to keep Baycut Boro going in the most difficult times, but I also fought to keep that old established furniture removal company going. And I went through this recession where the housing market had crashed and nobody was moving houses, and I had to like look for different opportunities to keep the lads in work and find work. And luckily I managed to get subcontract to companies like Silent Night Beds, you know, where they had wagons were going in there distributing beds around the country. Yeah. So there were other alternatives, and you know, because we're an old established company, like, you know, I managed to get in with a council. We were doing a lot of council moves. So, but it was really tough. Them days were really tough. And when the recession was like coming out of the recession, I went, you know what, I've had enough now, because when you start stopping enjoying what you're doing, it's the time to get out.
Yeah.
And I think it was it was the recession that absolutely, you know, kind of made me have a serious rethink. And
not the stuffing out of you a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And then I sold it, and I got a good price for it. Building as well. I mean, the building's still there. It's Swats now, where we used to store our all the furniture. But the simple fact were, I sometimes look back and I think, you know what, you know, I'd worked so hard to get through the other side. I should have kept going, because I still see, you know, there's another company in the Rosendale Valley who used to subcontract to me, called James Westerman, and he's still going, he's still doing it. So he's come through the recession as well. And I look at it sometimes, and I you know, obviously I've taken a massive interest in the furniture removal game, and I look at it and I think, you know what, I'd done all the hard work by getting through it.
Yeah.
And really, should I have kept it and should I built it and carried on? But, you know, my pathway in life took me in a different direction, and obviously I sold it, and the direction it took me in is here, and 25 years on, we're talking about it.
Yeah, because like from that situation, that's where your time started with Baker Borough, and you were able to fund the club moving forward.
Yeah, but going back to the conversation with Frank Manning, I kind of like said to him, look, what is it you want to do? Because if you're adamant as a committee that you're not going to pay expenses, well, I'm not the manager you want, because I don't want to be part of that. And equally, the club, I can't see the club. The club's going to go. It's going to go backwards. It's not going to go forward. So you've got a decision to make. If you're not going to pay expenses, then you need to be going into an amateur status. If you are going to pay expenses, then we fight and carry on. Where we are now, and that's kind of the road that was taken. But it's been a as we said on that interview, it's been a rocky road, and it's been a tough road. But again, I wouldn't have been able to do it without really good people. It's me, and it was my money, and I'm the one that's worked at night, gone through the night, and drove a wagon through the night, and got my salary at end of the month, and my salary all came into the football club and helped run the football club. That was it. And all through all that time, when it was like the first, from like say 2000 to 2010, when we secured the that lease, I was kind of I shouldn't have been here, because the lease didn't have my name on it to start with. So I shouldn't have even been here, and the place was a shambles. And but I still had to carry on putting a team on that park, and tried to. And when I look back and think about the teams I did put on that park in them early years before 2010, we had success, and I think to myself, it's remarkable how we achieved that success. But again, that's down to the players that I attracted in. There were a lot of local lads playing at the beginning, like Damien Moran, who's still a big staunch supporter, has a business in the town. Yeah. He was a captain of the team at the time. And then I've always been a manager like that has give youth a chance. And I brought in young Nicky Taylor at the time, who was 16-year-old, and gave him his debut. Who went on to be an absolute colossal player for a Baker Borough. He won the young player, the player of the year at the Northwest Counties 2-year running, and it's a feat that's never been surpassed since. Yeah. There are people like him. My son Martin came into the team at that time and were playing in the team. A lad called Paul Wayne, who was just come on board as a partner. He was given his debut at an early age. The list goes on. These lads, pick the baton up and in my leadership, strive for success. Yeah. And in some ways they got the success. And in between that, there were some kind of high profile signings that came along the way. And again, people will say it were my money. It wasn't Baker Borough's money, but I always went on record, and I still go on record. Listen, I can find you Rolls Royce players for mini minor money, because I'm a firm believer. It's how you speak to people. It's how when you sit down, your honesty will shine through. And that's one thing I am. And that's the only thing I'll ever be, is honest. And we've had times where we struggled to pay, but we've always paid. We've always paid. Even in terms of as a business. Sometimes it's funny, because Deborah were telling me when I were out the other day. Deborah said that the guy from the who supplies our beer supplier was in. A rep came in. And he was sat down talking to Deborah, and he must have said, what? He said, it's fantastic what you've achieved here. He said, I remember coming here at first, and I thought, no. And I remember Brent turning round and saying, we're always throwing beer away. We can't sell the beer. It's not for us. He said, but I kind of sat down with him and spoke to him, and I got him in another way, another mindset.
Yeah.
And he said, and the transformation of the club and what he's done, or what you've done, or what we've all done. He said, he's just, I've seen the transformation and it's remarkable. And he said, and I always remember the one thing he said to me when and I didn't know Brent, and I didn't know the football club, because the guy I'm talking about is from Wigan. He said, and one thing that I remember him saying to me, listen, I'll tell you straight, you will always get paid, always. Sometimes we might be a bit late in paying and delayed in paying, but rest assured, you will always get your money. And he said to Deborah, and that's the way it's been. He said, and it's been fantastic what you've done. So, you know, that's kind of what we're about. It's the honesty. And I think when you're sitting down and you're speaking to players, you know, players, listen, every generation that I've managed, they're all the same. They'll sit before a manager and they'll say, well, I'm getting this at the football club I'm at now. And the chances are they're telling lies. Yeah. The chances are they're exaggerating the truth, because I know for a fact that there's some players. I mean, I remember, and I think I've told this tale before. I mean, I had a lad playing here. He's out in Spain now. He lives out in Spain. A lad called Mark Rostron. He'd been at Burnley and he played for Whitworth Valley, and he came and I took him to Rosendale United, and he played under me at Rosendale United, and he was a terrific player. But he was a Jack the lad, you know. He was like a Del boy. He'd always sell you. But he, the notorious one, he sold Eric Worley a television, but it never worked. And when he opened the old television up, there were half the stuff inside it were missing. You know what I'm saying? He was a right Del boy.
That one's gone down well with That one's gone down well with Eric. Exactly.
So, but he said to me when I was leaving Rosendale, he said, listen, he said, I've had Southport on to me. I think the manager at the time was Brian Kettle. He said, I've had Southport on to me. He said, Brian Kettle, he said, will you come with me? He said, and I went, well, I'll take you, but I'm not going to sit in. I'm not your agent or anything like that. I said, but listen, I'll take you. I'll go and meet him. He said, I've got to meet him down at Haydock Park. So I said, right, I'll take you. So anyway, he comes out, and I knew what I were paying Mark at the time at Rosendale, and I knew what my wage bill collectively for, you know, like, well, then it were only 3 subs. So collectively with the 3 subs. So he come out to meet. I said, how did it go? He said, it went fantastic. He said, but he were a bit shocked when I told him how much you were getting at Rosendale. He said, but you know, and I know I weren't getting what I told him. I said, well, what did you tell him? He said, I told him I run £150 a week. I went, you what? I said, you told him you're on 150? Yeah. He said, I told him if he wanted me to come to Southport, he'd have to match £150 a week or better it. I said, well, what did he say? He said, well, he couldn't believe that I run £150 a week in the North West Counties League. I went, well, you're not on 150. He said, no, but I told him. He said, because obviously I want £150 a week. I said, well, you'll have a shot. I said, because when the Manchester Evening News comes out on the Sports Pink on at the weekend, Pink. I said, when that comes out, I said, they've done an interview with me about leaving Rosendale, and I actually opened up about my wage bill. I said, so when they turn around and read that and see what my wage bill were, they'll know full well that I weren't paying a player £150, one player £150 a week. So the moral of the story is, but that's what players are like. And when players come to me and say, oh, I played for, you know, last season I were at Ramsbottom and I were on like £80 a week. I said, right, listen, before we start, don't chat shit to me, right? Let me tell you, I'm not getting involved in no Dutch auction, right? I want players who want to play for Boro, right? I'm not getting involved in no Dutch auction. I don't care what you tell me you were getting down there at the club you've been at, right? The chances are you ain't getting what you're saying you're getting, but I'll tell you what I'll give you, and this is what I'll give you. But I'll guarantee if you do well for me, there might be a little bit more in the kitty. And that's how you've got, and to be honest, that's how you've got to be with people.
People who don't know, Brent, you know, of course, you've mentioned it a few times. People who watch this show might know, but those who don't watch it, you signed David May. Tell me how that came about and tell me how much he were getting paid and how you sold Boro to David May.
Well, I didn't know David. I only knew David May like any football person would know David May. Followed his football career, good solid defender at Blackburn Rovers. Got a move to Manchester United. Good solid defender at Manchester United. We're part of the treble winning team. Man United, moved from Man United, went to Burnley. I think he had a bit of a disagreement with Stan Ternent, and he kind of was in between jobs. And I've always been, look, you know, I always think about, this is what I think about all the time. If there's somebody out there that's available, or, you know, not playing, or are playing, but you know, you fancy them at your club, what's wrong with approaching people? You know, you approach people, you're honest there. There's only two words they can say, one or two words, and that is either yes, I'm interested, or no, I'm not interested. So I've always been a person that I'm not shy about going and approaching people, and even your high profile players. So in this instance, I needed one thing that I didn't want to do. I didn't want to go through a third party. It needed to be me speaking to him. It needed to be me that was like in front of him and addressing him. And I remember ringing a sports journalist up who had interviewed me on quite a few occasions. I'll not mention any names because it wouldn't be right to mention any names. And on the QT, this particular sports journalist slipped me David May's telephone number, but said to me, "You haven't got it from me." So, yeah, brilliant, you know, fantastic. So I had David May's telephone number, so I rang him up. I asked him if he fancied just to call in, because he lived down in Whitworth at the time, the top of Whitworth. And I asked him if he'd call in the Boro Football Club and if he'd come and speak to me and have a chat with me. At first, he's having a chat with me as they always do on the phone, and he's saying, "Oh, well, I'm not so sure, this, that, and the other, like they always do. You know, I'm like, you know, humbled that you've rang me up, but I don't think it's for me. And but you know, feel free to keep in touch. You know, it's been good speaking to you," sort of one of them. And then what happened was I had another high-profile player here, and I wanted him to play who I wanted him to play alongside, which was Ian Hughes. Now, when I was down at Boro, Ian Hughes was just starting off on his football career, and I for one part of his progression, he was kind of under me at Boro, and then he progressed into the reserve team and then into the first team. And Ian Hughes eventually become the captain of I'm not sure if he was captain Bury, but he got sold. Stan Ternent actually sold Ian Hughes to Blackpool for £250,000, which were a lot of money back in them days. You know, 250,000. And I signed Ian Hughes here, and the only reason I got Ian at the time, I mean, he was like at back end of his career. He had a dodgy knee, and he was on trial. I remember him being on trial at. When I say on trial, Accrington was looking at him. John Coleman was looking at him, and he played all pre-season with Accrington Stanley, and he was getting, you know, the fans quite liked him. But then but I kind of, as you do, I kind of spoke to Ian Hughes, and I kind of said to him, "Look, Ian, they're not making a decision on you yet at Accrington. You know, it's obvious you're a quality centre back. Listen, I'll give you a contract. Come to me. I'll give you a contract. We'll put you in the shop window, because that's where you need to be. You know, play games." I said, if John Coleman's umming and eyeing with you, you know, it's on the table. And anyway, he decided, probably under normal circumstances, if I hadn't been part of his progression at Bury Football Club and he didn't know me, he would have probably stayed at, you know, trying his ply his trade at trying to get in at Accrington.
Yeah.
But he did know me, and he had been part of me, and he knew what I was about. So he decided to cut ties with Accrington in pre-season, even before John had offered him anything.
But he wasn't losing anything because you gave him the shop window, and if anyone came sniffing, he was free to go.
Yeah, that's right. And what happened then were, I know at the time on the message boards and that, he were getting a bit of stick from the Accrington fans because they'd seen him playing pre-season. They quite liked him, but they for the life in there, they couldn't understand. Accrington were in the I'm not sure. Yeah. I don't think they were a football league club then, but they were high up in they were in the Conference National, and they were like scratching their heads. Why is this centre half? Has he got no ambition? Why is he left us to go to bake up Boro, that's in the North West Counties League, which is like 4 or 5 divisions below us? They couldn't understand it, but he came to me, and he got a bit of stick for coming to me. So anyway, we're here at Bake Up, and he was here, and I wanted David May to pair him up. So I thought I'd have David May, which, you know, what a backbone that'd be, you know, ex Manchester United, Blackburn Rovers, pairing him up,
especially in the North West counties.
Yeah, exactly. And then pairing him up with Ian Hughes, who'd had a career. He'd been like played at, and he was an international, a Welsh international. So he were playing at, he played at Boro, was sold to Blackpool for 250,000. I think he had a spell at Huddersfield as well. So to have them two as a pairing, I thought, blinking heck, it's like a marriage made in heaven. This as a twin at the back. Anyway, David May, like edging his bets and kind of like said, "Thank you, but no thank you" at the time.
Yeah, it was holding out for a professional club to come in.
Yeah. So he come like, "Thank you, no thank you." Anyway, what happened were we were training at Otwood. I remember it. We were training at Otwood, and we were training inside at Otwood, and innocuously somebody went in. I can't remember who it were now. I think it was the late Gary Lloyd. Went into him and broke his rib. He actually broke his rib in training. He was accidental. It was just one of them things that happened. It was just coming together, but he cracked his rib, and he was out. So instead of having a pairing that we were matching in heaven, I was like ripped. Had no centre half as such. Yeah. So that prompted me, like a dog with a bone, to ring David May back again. I thought, I'm having him.
Yeah, I'm not giving in.
I'm not giving in. So I got back in touch. I mean, I bet he rued the day that. Well, he never found out he'd give me his number, and he still to this day doesn't know he'd give me his number. So I got back onto him. I said, "David, just come up for it." Anyway, he came, and we had a chat. And I said, "Look, come, just come and can you not come and help me out?" And again, it was important. He was sat in front of me because I just know how I work. It's no good having a third party doing it. So at the end of the day, I said, "Listen," and I told him straight. I said, "Look, listen, we ain't got much money. In fact, we haven't got any money." And I remember offering him. I said, "I'll give you £50 a week." And he said to me, "Listen, I'm not coming for any money." He said, I'm not interested in the money." He said, "But," "you're infectious." He said, "So I'm going to give it a go. I'll come and help you out." So that's what happened. He came and when he got paid, he did get the money, but he just used to take it down to the bookies and put it on in the bookies. He you know what I mean? But it's funny how the non-league or football social media work.
I bet at the time though, Brent. I bet at the time when you signed David May, a lot of people in the non-league circle would have said, "How much is he paying him? How much is he paying him?"
Oh, that's what I'm saying. It was ridiculous. They were coming on, "Oh, they're paying him mega money. He's on linking this, that, and the other." There were loads of stupid money coming around, but they weren't. It was
just passion for the game.
It was passion. He wasn't bothered. He didn't want the money.
He didn't need the money.
He didn't need the money. He didn't want the money. And there were times where he'd say to me, no, just put it back in the club. And I'd say, "No, you're no different than anybody else, David. You're having it. You're having it. You're no different. Why should I not give it you and I'm giving it to the next person? So you're having it." And that's how it were. But again, that's just basically how it were, you know. And David May did give me a season, well, 3/4 of a season playing, and then, I mean, I don't have assistant managers as such. I have, like, you know, first team coaches, but and then David stepped in as one of my as a first team coach, and he did like part of a season doing that, but then the lure of Manchester United in the hospitality sector, where they were offering him really good money,
and then the TV as well. He's working
the TV,
so that's
yeah. But, you know, fair credit to him. You know, I mean, he's part of the Fort Law and the history of this remarkable football club.
Yeah.
And but there, like you say, there were others. And I mean, if you look at,
I was just going to come to Ben as well. Ben Formlet, another Manchester United player.
Well, Ben. In fact, it's funny because when I went and met Ben, he said to me, he was pulling himself down with Ben, and he said, "Are you sure it's not my brother you want? Have you not got mixed up with my brother?" Which was Rob Thornley, because Rob was like a prolific goal scorer. And as you know, Rob went on to be part of the England setup with being a masseur and that, and, you know, travelled the world with England and that. Yeah, but having Ben here as well, that might have been a kind of a bit of a pull, because I already had David May here. You know, so that probably got me Ben over the line as well. But it didn't stop there, Steve, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I made an audacious approach for Dennis Irwin.
Yeah, what happened there?
I spoke to Dennis Irwin. He was at the time I spoke to him, he was at Manchester Airport. And again, I used David May as the leverage.
Yeah. And
his words to me were, he said, "I'm really interested, Brent." He said, "But if I'm going to do something," he said, "I'll give it my full, you know, my full concentration." And he said, every other week I have to. He said, which is where I'm on my way to now. I go over to Ireland because I have to do a TV show for Irish, you know, Irish TV. And he said, so I'd be hit and miss. So because he would be hit and miss, but there was a conversation. And again, that was a conversation directly with me. And I knew that if I spoke to him or saw him face to face, I'd have a good chance. The one where I kind of, that really, really did frustrate me more than anything, and that were because there was always a block going up, and I couldn't get to him. And I knew the player in question, had I got to him and been able to speak to him, like I spoke to Ian Hughes, like I spoke to David May, like I spoke to Ben Thornley, like I spoke to other players, I knew that I might have half a chance of getting this player over the line. And the player in question, another one that I tried to get overboard, were Andy Cole.
Andy Cole.
But
there's no stopping you, is there? There's no, like a dog with a bone.
But I couldn't. The thing where with Andy Cole, in fact, I remember, because he hit the press big time, because I open and honest. I said, "Oh, look, I'll be honest. I'm trying to get Andy Cole," and he hit the main headlines of the papers. And I remember, what's he called from Burnley, must have been close friends with him. Akibaya, because he contacted him. Because I found out after he contacted him, he said, "Oh, well, what's this? You're going to go to Bacup." But the issue were with Andy Cole, there was a block there. There was an agent there, and the agent were blocking it because
he wanted his piece of flesh.
Well, he said he won't come. He was shutting the door. He didn't even give me a chance to speak to him. And I knew the last thing I wanted to do was speak to an agent, because that's not me speaking. That's not sincerity. You know what I mean? No, I'm sincere. Yeah. You know, it's man to man. I need him in front of me, and then I can speak properly and show him around and show them what we're about and show them what I'm about and the passion and, what I have for the game and Bacup Boro. And so there's been others, but some have failed, but there's a few that haven't failed.
No, cracking, absolutely cracking. Let's move on to Bacup Boro and, present day. It's been a good couple of weeks. You know, we had the Burscough victory. We had the result against Dayshill, a good draw with Dayshill, and then 3 valuable points against Atherton LR. A difficult game, but we came through it.
Yeah, we're not. If I'm going to be perfectly honest, we're not as a group.
I don't think we're at the races yet, are we?
No, that's what I'm saying. As a group, we're not just fluent like we were last year. But I put that down to varying scenarios. The most important thing is people have a short memories. I mean, some guy stopped me on the street yesterday and said, "How's your season going?" And then I think it was yesterday, but I've only replied to it today. Peter Smith from Sky Sports sent me a message, and Peter had put on that he bumped into pitch side. He bumped into Rhys James at a Sheffield Wednesday game, and they were talking pitch side, and they were talking about Bacup Boro, and Rhys I don't know what went on in the conversation, but Rhys must have said that. Off the pitch, they seem to be doing really well. They're getting the support and everything, but I don't think the results have just been to Brent's liking. So, you know, this were probably at the beginning of the season when we were stuttering a little bit, when we didn't even have our players back from holiday. So, and what I just replied to the message earlier. And what I kind of said is like, we kind of struggled at the beginning, but we didn't have, with several players, as you know, with several players from last year's squad that was, you know, probably first names on the team sheet that were missing because they'd gone on holiday. So we were having to pick the baton up and run with players that probably wouldn't have been, who hadn't been around the first team before. And the other issue were, you know, in defence, we was conceding, even though we were scoring goals. We were, and I keep reminding people, like the Garstange, we scored 3 goals away from home. Never should have come away from that game with nothing, and we did. We ended up losing 5-3. So we conceded we'd conceded 5 goals, scored 3. So there was nothing wrong with our goals for, Colin, but our goals against was not making good reading.
Going from last season, it's been kind of uncharacteristic, hasn't it? It's not our character to concede that many goals in a game.
That's right. So when that's happening, as a management team, myself and Dave Felgate, we've got to we've got to get that right, because we've got to stop conceding, even though we know that. And then it's like fine tuning everywhere. So so the first thing we've got to look at, and even while games are coming thick and fast, you've got to look at your defence, and one of the reasons why you're conceding like you are now. Now, one of the reasons where we lost our goalkeeper, and we've brought a new goalkeeper in, and he had to find his feet, and I think he's doing absolutely fantastic in Mason Walker. You know, he's going from strength to strength, and long may that continue, because I'll be the first to admit that the jury were out on him. But Dave Felgate will tell Mason, and he'll tell all the other goalkeepers, don't worry, Brent's always been anti-goalkeepers. Yeah. That's what Dave tells them. He thinks I'm anti-goalkeeper. I'm not anti-goalkeeper, but the standards, I've probably been blessed over my time.
You've had good goalkeepers, Brent. That's
exactly. I've had good goalkeepers, and you've hit the nail on the head there. So I've been overly blessed. I mean, obviously, Dave Felgate himself were a goalkeeper for me, and an international. You know, so I've had good goalkeepers. So when there's like lads who were trying to apply the trade and make a career in football, it's at the beginning, I'm like an addict to please, really, because they're still in the progression stages. So the jury are out on Mason, but he's done really, really, really well. And then we've had to play square pegs in round holes, and it hasn't helped matters as well when, you know, you'd like to have a settled pairing at centre half, and because Ross Mallinson with his job, can't always be available every game, you know, it becomes difficult. So it becomes difficult for him. It becomes difficult for me selecting the team. And Gareth Wager, who's an experienced lad at the back, he wasn't available because he was carrying an injury and he was away on holiday. So there's kind of things going on there that we couldn't get settled. But gradually, what's happened is, and then we had Brad Hancock, who was away on holiday. He was the next one to Toby. That's like had more holidays than Judy Chalmers, but such is life. So we had Brad Hancock, who we're missing also. So it's been difficult. But what we've done gradually, we've got players back. Then we've had a look at kind of like Sam Fitton at playing at fullback, and even though I've got to say it, I think my vision of Sam putting him at left back when we were ahead of the Winsford friendly, a lot of people thought, have I lost my marbles? But I knew, you know what I mean. I knew. I thought
the experience that he brings,
the experience, and I knew, and he ended up man at match that game. So I had no hesitation in putting Sam at left fullback when the season started, and for me, he's been steady away. He's done what he needs to do, and now we've moved him to right back because we had Brad back off his holidays. But then since then as well, the introduction of Mason Fallon coming in, who's a natural left back that's come from New Mills. So all of a sudden, and I introduced Mason from the bench against, I think he was on the bench in the Vars game against Burscough, and then he made his debut for us against Daisy Hill, and then he played last week. He started there last week, so he's settled as he's made a difference because he's natural and he's playing at the side of his nephew in Joy Fallon.
Yeah.
Then we've had Gareth Wager back, that's managed to get a few games in consistently. And let me tell you about Gareth. Last week, when Gareth doesn't get himself involved in crap, when he gets himself involved in crap and keeps chirping at referees and
frustrating as anything,
and plays to the crowd, he frustrates the life out of everybody. Well. And he takes his concentration levels goes in his own game. But you know what? There is nobody better when he's focused. When he is focused and stays focused, he's
a leader.
He's a leader. And I felt last week against Atherton LR, him and Joy were quality. They were a different class. But it does spoil him, Gareth, when he does that other thing, when he gets involved and starts, it just takes he just spoils himself.
When he's trying to put his opinion and put his slant onto the referee, it's never going to work. No, but you see, Gareth. I mean, trying to change him now at this time of life is very, very difficult because listen. Gareth will tell you. I think he keeps reminding me because it's something else we've got. It's my 25 years. But Gareth keeps reminding me. I'm in my 10th year at the club, but not continual. If you know what I'm saying. He has had a spell away, and then come back. So that's another milestone by end of season that we Gareth. But listen, when he's on it and he's fully focused and concentrated, and don't get involved in that other load of crap, he's quality. So it's no surprise. All of a sudden, the last two games we ain't conceded, and that's been really pleasing for me. I'm not really bothered about. I know that'll come. I mean, about our. I we're talking to Wayne Howarth after the game on Saturday. Who, as you know, Wayne was my captain at Glossop when we were at Glossop. He was a top player for Rosendale United before my time at Rosendale, but also whilst I was the manager of Rosendale, he was captain. And like Wayne has an opinion, and he's always had an opinion, and I'll listen to Wayne all day long, but I'll always form my own opinion. That's how it is. That's how it were when he was my captain.
But obviously, you were a bit frustrated that we weren't as fluent on Saturday as we would normally be, like what he was used to saying.
And he's got a point.
But he has a point. But we've then got to look, because I always say this: when you're not happy with something, you've got to get to the root of why is it happening. So my answer to that is, this is why we haven't been as fluent. First and foremost, we've got the defence, or I think we've got the defence kind of where we want it. You know, we're we can only go off the last two games. The last two games, we haven't conceded. We've kept clean sheets. That's a bonus, that, you know, because that's what we want from our defence. You know, do we want to be expansive the way, so expansive that, you know, we're losing games, we're scoring 3 goals, but we're conceding 5? No, we don't. We need to be tight at the back. And if that means that we're tight at the back, so we're not conceding any goals, but we're scoring 1 up top and we're winning the game 1-0, well, I'll take that all day long. You've got to do. It's a points game. You know, I'd rather it be that way than be so frustrated and going to Geistang, scoring 3 and happy as Larry's because we're scoring 3, but then we concede 5 and we've come away with nothing. Yeah. That's not what football's about.
So if we could go the entire season and win every game 1-0, we'd be happy with that.
Of course we would. But I get it's not what really the fans come and pay the money for. They like to see us, and I get that. So then you've got to look at the reasons why that happened, especially on Saturday.
We got spoiled last season, Brent. We watched a lot of attractive football, and I think, you know, we were thoroughly entertained. We got spoiled. We got spoiled quite a lot last season. Yeah,
but I think that'll come back. I still do, because we still got those flair play. Listen, to play like we played, there's a lot of things have to come into it, right? Let's take Kyle Siddall. Kyle, he might not have scored many goals last season, like Alex Mellor, but most games he played, he was picking the baton up and running, because he would get from a deep position. Yeah. As soon as he got the ball, he was taking people on.
He was driving,
and he was driving, and he was a driving force, and he was a big threat. Equally, Alex Mellor, likewise. Then you've got to have Michael Gervin on top of his game, where he's kind of bringing these players into play. Yeah. And then when that happens and they're all at it and they're all tuned in, that's when we'll get the fluency like we want. Unfortunately, yet, they're not all at it. For one reason or another, Michael Gervin's picked a bad knock-up against Bursko, I think it were. I'm losing my track of me. And then we didn't play him against... He was on the bench against Daisy Hill, but didn't start because it was a medial league. He must have, because bad bruising was...
I think it was the Bursko game on the 4G.
Yeah. So he had a problem. So he's not firing like he kind of should fire. Although the other frustrating part is with Michael sometimes is he does want that extra touch. And if that's something Dave is on to him about all the time. Limit your touches. Excuse me.
Andrew Knight's to me on comms every single week, like a broken record, but he's right. Gervin should not be touching that ball more than 3 times.
No. And the trouble is, what he does, he sometimes looks for that better pass than the one he sees. But I always remember an old, experienced manager saying to me, and I've been in his company when he said it and addressed the team, you play to the nearest man that you see, you keep that ball moving. And you know what? And I know I always touch back on this at the show. I know Man United were very, very poor, and I know they're building blocks at Man United, but you know what? I watched the game against Arsenal, and at times against Arsenal, they kept the ball moving every time. They didn't even dwell on it. They were passing to the nearest man, and if it wasn't on for that man to go and express himself, he'd come back and start again and go out the other side. But they kept the ball moving. Not one player against Arsenal I saw, and no doubt you'll find a video, Will Michael, because I'm saying this, where it's happened, but I can't remember a player dwelling on the ball and getting caught in possession, right? I think McTominay might have been the closest that came
But
to.
if they can't find a pass, they just recycle it and start again.
They recycle and start again and keep going, but keep passing and keep passing and keep moving. Now, if you keep that ball moving, one thing I said to the players at half-time on Saturday, right, and I'll be honest with you, what I said to them, I said, listen, we're either taking too many touches, so we're holding on to the ball, and then we're losing it, right, cheaply, or our passing, we're giving the ball away because we're hurrying a pass, or we're trying to hit behind too soon. That's not about us. I said, let me tell you this. This is exactly what I said to him. I said, I'll tell you now, if Dave Felgate puts a training session on there on Tuesday night on that pitch, and we're game, I'll get involved. I'll play. And I said, and I'll tell you now, you start dwelling on the ball, I'll guarantee at my age, right, and I'm not fit,
even though the old fogey,
I'll guarantee I will take that ball off you.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. And I'm crap. That's what I said to him. I said, and I'm crap. I'll take the ball off you. So I said, why are you allowing them to take the ball off you? Because you're taking too many touches.
You're dwelling on
it. You're dwelling on the ball. Move it. So this is coming back to where I'm saying about fluency. If we move that ball like we should move that ball, they should have plenty of options. They've got fullbacks that come down the channel to support, so they've got an option there. They can hit the front man that drops in and holds the ball up. They've got a midfield that when the big lad gets the ball in, we should have runners running past the big man so that he can lay it off and the next ball goes in behind. We can play diagonal balls. We've got everything going for us. But we've got to get into that mould of doing that. You know, and that's something, no doubt, tonight, when they're training, that'll be something that will be addressed, I'm sure of it. But that is one of the reasons why we wasn't as fluent on Saturday. And the other reason why we wasn't as fluent on Saturday, and I'm sorry I'm having to say this, but I have to say it, is the referee was not allowing the game to flow. He was stop, start, which frustrated.
I do agree on that, but in the previous week, you know, the 0-0 against Daisy Hill, I've got to give tremendous credit to the referee because he did allow the game to flow.
Yeah, he did. I mean, I can only talk about the last game. He did, and the game against Daisy Hill. I mean, look. Some people might have been disappointed that it were 0-0 against Daisy Hill, but am I disappointed? No, I'm not, because look how good the game after Daisy Hill. Daisy Hill played the game after and played the game before us. So the game before us, they were scoring plenty of goals. They hit us. It's a 0-0. The game after, they're banging goals in again. And I think I'm not sure. I could be wrong. I'm sure it was against Chatterton, and Chatterton are a decent side. So that 0-0 against us were a typical two top teams, you know, going toe to toe.
A game of chess, as you called it.
Exactly. So consequently, you know, I just think that were a well-earned, well addressed point. If we go to the Atherton LR game again, and if we look back to end of last season, I think we played them on the third to the last game of the season away from home.
The wheels came off that day.
Well, did the wheels come off, or did Atherton LR do what they did again on Saturday? You know, frustrate the life out of us. You know, sometimes you've got to give the opposition some credit. You know, I didn't think, you know, Atherton LR here on Saturday, I didn't think we're a bad side by any imagination. You know, and if they're turning around and saying about their goalkeeper, there was an issue with the goalkeeper who we scored against with the goalkeeper. It weren't the lad who wasn't the goalkeeper. The only disappointment from me is that we really didn't test the lad who wasn't a goalkeeper. But again, that comes down to if you think about what happened in the game, in the second half when the keeper who was in that wasn't a goalkeeper, Kyle hit the post, which was extremely unlucky. Another time that sneaks into the bottom, nestles into the bottom corner. I think Toby was unlucky on a couple of the occasions. And in all fairness, again, and we can talk about refereeing and everything else, there were 2 stonewall penalties. I'm not being funny. They're just stonewall. But I'll tell you what I told the referee coming off the pitch. And this happens with the young referees all the time. And I think that what happens is, in a game of football, when you're learning the game, most decisions you have to make are run-of-the-mill decisions. If you follow logic, they're run-of-the-mill. They're not game-changing decisions as such in the main, right? And in the main as well, offsides aren't usually given by the referee. The offsides are given by the assistant. So the only big decision that a referee has to make, which ends up always being controversial, is a penalty. Now, I think the experienced referees or a younger referee that's got what I call a pair of balls, right, will see that penalty for what it is and give it, and won't bat an eyelid in giving it. But I think the biggest percentage of referees, in my opinion, younger ones, bottle it when it comes to making a penalty decision. It's the easiest decision to make by saying no penalty than saying a penalty. Because as soon as they go penalty, there's
the spotlight's on him. The
spotlight's on them. Whereas, and that's what I felt that happened on Saturday. I felt definitely 2 stonewall penalties. Them players aren't going to go down where they went down in that situation. No. They were stonewall penalties. And I said to the referee going off the pitch, if you want to make it in this game, right, and it's not just you, it's other young referees, you've got to have the balls to make the big decisions and get them right. And the big decision is the penalties. And I think, and I've seen it so many times, they bottle it when it comes to making penalties. They bottle it.
Take responsibility.
Take responsibility, 100%.
Interesting. Saturday, big game against Pilkington. Well, they're all big games because every game's equal. But Pilkington, flying high, unbeaten, good crowds, Ruskin Drive. What do you reckon?
There will be good crowds when they're giving Saint fans, rugby fans, blinking free tickets to go in.
Oh, is that what they're doing?
Or show your season ticket you're getting free or cheap, or I don't know. Yeah, that's what they're doing. That's why
idea.
Well, listen, I'm not knocking it, but that's why they're getting good crowds. Yeah, it is what it is, and listen.
But they've had a great start.
Listen, Pilkington, you know, let's be honest. I mean, Mark Hayes has gone there now. Unfortunately, Mark, I don't think he said he's not there on Saturday. He's away sunning himself, and I mean, I can't understand these people. Mark, if you're listening, going away in football season. Yeah. I don't.
Sacrilege.
But anyway, listen. You enjoy your holiday. You enjoy your holiday, and hopefully we'll enjoy the 3 points.
Well, but listen, he can listen to the game. At least he's got that.
Yeah. No. Listen, Pilkington. They probably feel a bit grieved because last couple of seasons, you know, the words out there that the guy who owns the club and the setup and everything, who was the previous chairman, he's probably got frustrated because he thinks that, you know, I mean, I'm not privy to what the budgets are or what they're doing. I just know they've got some good players there, and good players don't come. You don't get them out of a lucky bag.
No.
You remember lucky bags?
I do.
Well, you don't get.
I remember when it used to be 10 pence.
You don't get good players out of a lucky bag. So what I'm saying is that probably he got a bit frustrated because in their eyes, committee's eyes, they probably underachieve from where they want to be, and that might be the reason they brought Marquez in. I don't know. I'm not privy to all that. But what I'm saying is Pilkington, for me, I've got a good team. It proves that with the results that they've had. It proves that where they're sat in the league. But I just wish we weren't playing them on I wish it were an equal playing field where we were playing them on grass, because I don't like that. I don't like that 4G. I'll be honest, I don't like it. Listen, we have to play a few times on it in this league, against clubs. But this is me personally. I just don't like it. I think if you're a player that's got troubled joints, that's had operations, we distinguish, career. What happens? I just
potential nightmare, isn't it?
It doesn't. There's no give. You can't turn the same. It's great for coaching. It's great for like when you're doing drills. It's great for kids because kids have lots of flexibility. If you think about it, a kid is flexible. Footballers aren't as flexible, and I just don't like them. Not in a competition. I don't like them, but it is what it is. We've got to go there. I don't even think we've actually done well. You correct me. I mean, I don't actually think we've got positive results on that pitch down there. I know we went with St Helens. I know I made the changes against St Helens in the cup, but we went there and we got beat.
I think we went there about 2 seasons ago, and they gave us a right good spanking. I think it was 5-0, if you can remember.
Yeah, yeah. He could. I know. I can't think of a time that we've come away from down there. I stand to be corrected, where we've actually come away with 3 points, where we've won the game. But that's got to change.
It's always the first.
Well, that's right. That's got to change, and hopefully it'll change. Listen, the lads have had a few days off. We'll be fine tuning them tonight. They'll be chomping at the bit. They're in good form, like we've just said. They're in good form, and hopefully, if they work hard, twice as hard out of possession as they do when they're in possession, then we'll get a result. But they're not going to go all the season. This is how I look at it. They're not going to go all through the season winning every game. They're going to drop points at some point. So why can't that be Saturday? That's how I look at it. We'll go there. We're buoyant. The lads know what they've got to do, and I think playing a team like Pilkington will stand our lads in better stead than what it would if we were playing a team that was lower down the league that they're expected to win. I think,
as you said earlier, Brent, I think we are. We've not got off to the races that well, but playing a team like Pilkington, it's going to give our lads the incentive, hopefully, to take it to that next level where we know they can go.
Well, I think so, yeah. And I mean, if we look at, I think last year, if you think about it, last season, I think we had Bury away in our third match.
Yeah.
I think it were third match, and Bury away, and look at what a good account of themselves that they did in that game. I mean, they were winning that game with 10 men, played with 10 men, for long periods of the game, 60 odd, 50 odd, 60 minutes with 10 men, and we're winning the game 1-0. Bury equalised in the 94th, 95th, 96th minute. So, we know what our lads are capable of doing. We know what we're about. We've got excellent players. They've just got to follow their instructions to the letter, and ensure that they do that. And I'm sure that we'll come out with a positive result. I mean, just while we're on that subject, I've been trying, on this show the last couple of weeks. It's kind of, we've tried to justify, or I've tried to justify why I haven't, started young Jack Haywood. I mean, here we're talking about him again, and I said, look, I went on this show and said straight away, look, it's not just about, we know that he can execute goals at the top end of the pitch, and he's capable of doing that, and he's got that in his locker. He's got to learn all the other aspects of a game of football. And if you remember, I talked about, these lads that come from amateur football, that run and go forward and attack the opposition and score goals. That's great in amateur football, but as higher they go in their footballing career, they've got to learn the other side of it. They've got to learn what areas to play in and what areas not to play in. They've got to learn to be switched on at all times, and obviously track the men when we lose the ball, and track the men and defend, because that's how the modern day game is. They've got to do that. And I said that, and I actually said to you in one of the last games, I said it was such a tight game. It was the Daisy Hill game. I kind of didn't. In one respect, I wanted to bring him on for a goal, because I know he has a goal in him. But in another respect, I didn't want to bring him on in such a tight game, because if he switched off like he has been doing for one moment and 1 second, we could lose the game very, very easily, because
he's still got a bit to learn when his defensive duties come into play.
Correct. So if we switch that over to last week at Atherton LR, I actually did put him on, thinking, he might just improve on our 1-goal lead. But if you remember, almost the last kick of the game, we were in a defensive situation on the top end, and he lost the ball really cheaply. Well, he switched off, and the lad nicked it from him.
Got to the byline and managed to put it across the face of goal.
And that could have been catastrophe for us, because had he found that player and they'd have executed it, we'd have been dropping points in that.
And not just that, protecting the player as well, Brent, because he would have been, unconsolable.
Well, that's right. So it's all a learning curve, and this is why I'm saying, I'm not just talking about Jack. I'm talking about why managers make decisions like they make decisions. It just sometimes you've got to be cruel to be kind, and I'm only explaining. The lad's goal scoring record speaks for itself. He's up there. His record's probably better than Toby's at the minute. But his other, in the position he plays, he's got other duties, and it's his other duties that's kind of we're still working with him on, and that's why we've just got to be, all of us have got to be grounded and be patient with him, because he's going to be one hell of a player both ways.
It certainly is. Final point I want to make. You mentioned it on BBC Radio Lancs about the work that Knights is doing with the commercial, and this week we've had a few announcements, and one of those you can see it at the ground, but our friends Terry's Cult have become one of our main partners. Excellent news, Brent.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, Steve Lum, who's behind that, along with some other business associates that he's involved with, since he's come into the valley with his business, not the Tourist Cult one, but the Stanley Jacks. He's been an avid supporter of Boro. He's been, financially, he's helped us out, but he's not only helped us out, he's helped, another Valley club, the Rosendale FC. I think he sponsors them as well.
So he's a Valley man then, isn't he? Really?
Well, he's a Valley man, yeah. But now we're pleased that he's chosen Baycup Borough to promote his brand, this Tourist Cult brand. And I mean, we've got big plans for him and for him, because we're hoping to turn behind the goals where the covered accommodation was in the past, and we've had to take it down because it was old and dilapidated. We're hoping to put concrete terracing in there, so it'll just fit hand in glove with the you know, the younger generation that we've got, our ultras that stand there in the groups, and we're hoping to get some concrete terrace in there so that you know, it will be a proper ending, and we'll call it the Terence Cult end. So yeah, you know, I've always said, you know, we're grateful to all these benefactors, these people, these businesses that are coming on board with us at Baycut Boro. But one thing I will say to the businesses, whilst we are extremely grateful, we are a club, and this is the motto that I have. I'm not saying you have or Knightsy have, but this is the motto that I have. Baycut Boro Football Club are a club that will give you more for less. So what I'm saying in that, we will always do more for your contribution financially than what you give us, because that's important in my eyes, you know. And I think we're going to do that. We'll be doing that with Tourist Cult. We will be doing that with them. We will give them more than for less.
And on that note, Brent, I'll see you on Saturday.
Good man. See you later.
I first heard about Thrive because everywhere I went, people were talking about it. Have you heard about the new gym that's opening? I'd say it's an inspirational place. The music's good. The equipment is absolutely the best I've ever seen. I've been a member of several gyms. Nice people, good staff, very friendly.
I love that I can get out instead of being stuck at home, so it's something I look forward to. I don't think other gyms cater for mobility as well as Thrive do. I can get straight in with the scooter and I can use near enough all the equipment.
The other gyms I've been to, it's kind of, you're on your own in there. In here, you walk in, you meet great people. I'm always speaking to someone, I'm always meeting someone I've never seen before in my life.
I read in a book many years ago about Starbucks, how when they created their vision wasn't just to serve coffee, it was to create a third place, a community where people could use coffee as a means to get together with family and friends. And for me, Thrive Gym has become that in Rosendale.
I love working in Nutrigains in the gym because it's just like a little social hangout. I'm making everyone coffees, like all the healthy food, get to chat to people before and after the workouts. It's a lot of fun.
I actually suffer with serious mental health, and if I don't come down to the gym, I'll have serious problems. So it really helps having this in my area.
When you first come in and see the scale of the gym, it really does have a wow factor. Now, most gyms this size can be quite intimidating places, and it could have been a really soulless gym, but it's absolutely not. It's a really good atmosphere. It's so well equipped and well set out that even at busy times, you never feel on top of each other.
Free motion is different to any other equipment I've come across. If I had to use a word, it'd be escapism. You've got 18,000 different workouts. The person that's taking you through the workout is a person from that area. For instance, if you wanted to go for a walk in Chamonix in the French Alps, you could do that and you would have a guide that would tell you what you are doing there.
I love the free motion equipment because I can do near enough everything for my body. I'm doing chest presses, flies, I'm doing my biceps, triceps, I'm doing absolutely everything, so I'm loving it.
My favourite free motion machine, it's the one where you do this side to side, because I'm trying to work on that part of my body at the moment, so I quite enjoy that one. One thing I love about the free motion equipment is you don't need a personal trainer. You can just follow the pre-designed workouts and kind of just get stuck in with it yourself, which is great.
The free motion ab machines are really good because I used to just do body weights, and since I've been using the free motion ab machines, it's completely changed my abs.
People come back basically because of the service. I mean, obviously our heart is always the group exercise, but Obviously the equipment that we use it's the best in the business, obviously using iFit, and that's why people come back, because again it's that progression, you get those results and they enjoy it as well.